time for another episode of the Animated Critics. Coming to you live from the studio, it's your favorite movie mavericks, T and J.
Thank you for joining us for an all-new episode of This Week in Movies. I'm Jay, here with my co-host T, and this week we'll be discussing the battle between movie studios and theater owners over a shortened pay-per-view window. We'll be talking about the continued bad luck for Peter Jackson and The Hobbit, and we'll also be taking at a trailer for a film that's premiering on your pay-per-view titled Monsters. But first, a look at the weekend numbers.
Number one, not surprisingly, was The Social Network with a 23 million estimated weekend gross. It's about right in line with what we said, maybe a little under what you had predicted, 25 to 30, but it coming in still pretty strong. The word is that this has been played strong on the coast, but not so much in Middle America. So what do you think that's going to do to its second weekend?
I actually think it's going to have a decent second weekend. I think once word of mouth gets out there, I've heard positive things about this all weekend long, and I think throughout the week it's going to play strong. So hopefully word gets out and around there. I've been told that it does have sort of an elitist attitude to the film, that these characters aren't that sympathetic to really get behind. So that may affect it in the long run, but I do think it's going to have at least another good weekend. I think the most surprising thing about this whole top five is that 3 films finished within the 10 million range. Bunched up was Legends of the Guardian, Wall Street, and The Town. And The Town continues to perform very well. It looks like it's going to cross that 100 million mark or get very close to it on a $35 million budget. And that's before any possible Oscar nominations. So look for The Town to continue to perform in the weeks ahead as well.
Easy A also held well for the weekend, and really this whole top five, even top six with you again coming in at 5.5 million, is pretty impressive as far as the hold goes, and just goes to show you that people will come out and watch movies, even something that is a heavily drama-oriented weekend as this weekend.
I totally agree with you. These are very impressive numbers for this time of year. You wouldn't think that there's any sort of slump at the box office, but apparently movie studios feel that way, and there's been talk lately around Hollywood of a so-called premium video-on-demand service. Movie studios are looking to shorten the pay-per-view window, which is typically about 3 to 4 months from the time a film is released to the time it reaches DVD or Blu-ray. And they want to actually move towards somewhat of like a hotel system where you can get a movie at a very high price not that long after it's left the theaters. And right now they're talking about 45-day window from the time it's released to the time it premieres on your television for $24.99. Do you think consumers are going to go with this?
I think some people will do this. Whoever's renting video on demand right now, $5 a pop. I've always felt that I would rather go down to Blockbuster if I want to pay $5 for a movie and rent the actual disc and have it, watch the extras or whatever I want to do with it. I mean, $25 is a lot of money, but only a month and a half after it's been in theaters, it sounds enticing, and then perhaps at first, but I don't know. This is going to eat into a lot of the theatrical run for movies. I mean, a month and a half, that's not very long at all.
Well, the idea here, I guess, is that if you've got a large family, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to go to the movies nowadays. So if it's a movie that you're somewhat mediocre on seeing, this would entice you to pay a premium price to see that movie.
Basically what they're trying to do is, instead of having people buy the DVD, is have you rent it earlier and pay the same price as you would for the DVD or Blu-ray. Is essentially the idea. And that way they can rebuild up that money that they're losing on people not buying DVDs. But I mean, people aren't buying DVDs because there aren't any good movies out. In my opinion, I think release some good movies and people will come and buy DVDs again. I don't know about releasing movies earlier. I don't know if that's necessarily going to help, or if they're just going to be cannibalizing the theatrical money.
Well, obviously, theater owners are fighting against this because of what you just said, the decreased attendance at theaters, which they make a lot of their money at the concession stands and things other than ticket sales. And the longer a film plays, the more revenue the theater sees from that. A film like Inception plays for weeks at a time, and they see a huge kickback on that. Movie studios are estimating that 80 to 90% of the revenue that a film generates at the domestic box office is within that first window of 45 days. So they don't see that it's going to hurt theater owners. However, it's coming under huge opposition from Best Buy and Walmart and DVD retailers who are going to see a massive hit to the sales of DVDs.
They've done a lot of stuff with DVD at this point, but it's been out for over 10 years now, and I think that when you have a library of films and your library has been on the market for a decade, over a decade, I think people will probably pretty much bought what they want to buy at that point, and so things are going to slow down. They're going to level out. They're not going to keep growing. You can't just have something that keeps growing. You keep selling and selling more and more, right? People are gonna stop buying sooner or later because they're gonna have shelves like we do, shelves and shelves of movies. It's just too much after a while, and you have what you need. So I think that going for a video on demand type thing is a good idea. I don't know about the price. It seems a little high to me, especially if I'm gonna watch it in my home. I expect to get a discount of that. I'd be willing to pay less to go to the theaters more often, and that I think is something they should really think about.
One company that's already tried this strategy of releasing directly to pay-per-view before its theatrical window is Magnolia Pictures. They have a division named Magnet, which has released a film already playing on your home video demand service named Monster, Garth Edwards' film, and it's an intriguing, captivating trailer we have here. Looks somewhat like a Cloverfield mixed with some sort of The Crazies or, like a zombie-type feature. I really like this trailer. I find it very visually pleasing and captivating, like I said. Are you intrigued at this whole trailer?
Yeah, I definitely want to see this movie. This is something that I'm going to be looking for. It looks very Cloverfield-ish to me, mixed with some District 9, which both are good movies, so I don't see why this movie wouldn't be any worse as long as the effects and hold up and the acting is somewhat decent, which the trailer seems to hint at both being good.
Yeah, this is playing right now on demand, Xbox Live, and the PlayStation, Amazon, and all those type of venues. It's going to hit theaters in a limited release October 29th. Did you think that the strategy by Magnolia to release this on pay-per-view before its theatrical run will eventually get this seen by a larger audience than if it had just had a very, very limited theatrical release?
I mean, it's not really fair to compare Magnolia with the larger studios doing this because Magnolia has, they have like landmark theaters, and then that's pretty much it. They do get smaller type movies, which usually don't play to a large audience anyhow.
They are moving somewhat towards a more mainstream audience pleasing. This film is evidence of that, as was their last release, Centurion, which had a mainstream feel to it too. And one of these days, Magnolia might have a breakout success using this format. This could be the film.
Be sure and check out this great trailer on our website, moviemavericks.com. The link is below. And of course, The Curse of the Hobbit is still out there, and it is still striking at the heart of Peter Jackson. The building where they shot a lot of miniatures for Lord of the Rings and King Kong, they were going to do a lot of the work for The Hobbit in it, burnt down. I get to see him getting up in the morning, walking out there, no, The Hobbit, no!
Yeah, we touched upon this last week, the plague production, and the troubles continue, like you said, for The Hobbit. This building caught ablaze. I mean, they filmed now 4 films there, and nothing's gone wrong, and it's amazing the amount of problems that they're having just getting this to the screen. So Peter Jackson must be having an ulcer by now. Thank you again for joining us this week. Be sure to check out MovieMavericks.com for all the latest movie news, movie reviews, and trailers. Once again, thank you, and be sure to check back with us next weekend to hear future movie news.